the BTL Global Headquarters in New York. It's BTL Live. YouTube's only live streaming podcast discussing the soccer card hobby. Join the interactive program as we discuss the state of the soccer card market, individual player trends, recent sales, and more. Get your questions ready as BTL and his guests discuss the hottest topics and industry trends and keep you up to speed with all that's happening in the soccer card community. Don't forget to join their Discord server at bit.ly/BTL Discord. And now your host, Breaking the Law.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in, welcome in. We are here tonight for Breaking the Law Live with our special guest, Soccer Cards HQ, and we are going to be talking about how we are approaching the new soccer sets that are about to come out. I am Breaking the Law. Make sure before we get into it that you hop into our Discord at bit.ly/BTL Discord, and make sure you give us a follow on Instagram at breakingthelaw.cards. But without further ado, I'm going to bring the man in, and we're going to get right into it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm good. Yeah. All right. So welcome in. We are here with, I can't believe it, but we're about to turn the calendar to 23-24 soccer card releases. Are you excited? How excited are you?
On a scale of 1 to 10, let's call it a 5 right now.
He's a solid 5.
Gotta be honest.
Well, so we, you approached me a few weeks ago to get ready for this. I wasn't even ready. You kind of caught me by surprise, and then the Topps Deco drop happened, and here we are. I mean, they haven't shipped that yet, but in theory, we're on the brink of all these Topps on-demand products coming at us real fast here for next year.
They haven't even shipped summer signings yet, and that was sold in mid-September, pre-sold in mid-September.
Was that just a summer signings, or was there also summer signings Bundesliga version? I can't keep up.
Yeah, they did the Bundesliga last year, but I haven't seen it from this year. I hope. I mean, that is definitely not needed. And a long list of stuff that's not needed. Summer signing Bundesliga is just not needed.
Not all the Bundesliga people left this summer. So yeah, we've got kind of our I think that's helpful for like what our first topic is, which is these early releases, these early sets that are coming out, and I think we're going to call Topps Deco probably the first of the big print-on-demand sets. They fade quickly. Tell me, you wrote an article today on your website, soccercardshq.com, that everybody should check out, but talk to me about your theory here on, and you had a really great stat, too, about the Topps Deco. Like, give me the rundown here.
Yeah, so, basically these Topps knows what they're doing, right? They put out these sets that we would never, ever, ever care about if Chrome and Sapphire and even Finest or Merlin was out, right? But they put these out at the beginning of the season, new players in new uniform, new kits, new rookies, and people just, get excited. A lot of them are released on Topps UK, which I actually like, because it does give Europe, access or cheaper access, right? Because getting them shipped here, especially if they limit to 1 or 2 boxes, getting shipped to the US is just, it really doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind that aspect of it. I just think that they're terrible value compared to what comes out later. And I think that it's just everybody's racing to get the hot new thing so they can get it to market and so they can hopefully sell it early when, usually cards are their most. But like I said in the article, that's physically not possible. Only one person can be first to market.
Yeah, let's talk about this because I'll do release day break. So I think I just want to spend a second and walk people through what you mean. So I do a release day break. Let's say Deco's a bad example because that comes out all over the place. But Topps Chrome, we do a release day break. For you as the buyer, if you join that break or you buy the product sealed and you get it first and get it up on eBay or wherever first, in theory, you're going to have probably one of the highest prices if you do the first sale, right? Is that what you're? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's usually how it works.
And so there's a lot.
Or you can be first degrading if
First degrading, yeah.
appropriate.
No, but PSA is so backed up. So if you don't, unless you're paying the premium or doing one of their monthly specials, you're still waiting.
I agree, and I didn't actually even put that in the article, and I should have. People that have that theory of going to grading, if it's 4 months, there's already going to be something coming like better, right? So that first degrading is just gone now too. So
I mean, the only way that really works in my experience is with like an SGC where, they get the cards today and I'm getting them back next week. That's that. But PSA, not unless you're pouring money down the drain, you're not going to have unless you got a monster card, right? Like
yeah. And the thing is, we don't give SGC any credence or love, which is ridiculous to me, but that is what it is. I mean, just think of how much better everything would be if a SGC 10 was worth even 75% of a PSA 10, much less,
Yeah,
like,
instead of 50%,
I don't want to get too far off. But real quick, like SGC is every bit the actual grader that PSA is.
Oh yeah,
with better customer service, return time, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if that was a thing where you could get a card back in 2 weeks, but that ain't happening. Now, if you get a PSA 10 back, you get an SGC 10 back, what are you hoping for? Half a PSA 10?
Yeah. That's how I price them. Yeah. Which is still, but yeah, I think that's a topic for another day. And I'd love to debate it because I'm a big fan of SGC. But so this idea is that these early sets, like the Deco, I mean, what will they run after? Like Topps Gold, a couple
Merlin
of
99.
Oh, Merlin
probably.
99. Oh.
Yeah.
Merlin 98 had a lower gem rate than any of the thick card sets in our review of last year's PSA population reports. The Merlin 98 product was so terrible. Yet I was in a million breaks with it because it's like you point out in the article. There's this desire to just have everything new, right? So Deco's going to have Lamine Yamal rookies in the Barcelona kit, first Jude or second Jude, I guess you could say. After of course, mega cracks.
And then the carrot, because they're obviously putting big carrots in everyone. It's going to be I even forgot which one. Summer Signings, I think, has Jude and Arda. Let me see. I even forget what Deco has, but there's a carrot in Deco. I forget what it is.
But even the Arda Guler, like, is he even a big chase? He's not going to have a rookie symbol for Topps because he was in Merlin, right? So, and Stadium Club, and he hasn't played at all.
And look, there was people over the summer that said Artigula was better than Jude Bellingham. Yeah, maybe he is.
Maybe
it's not looking likely. But let's just pretend that Artigula is better than Jude Bellingham. If Artigula is better than Jude Bellingham, then Jude Bellingham prices have to come down because they're red hot, and that's usually not how it works. And then then what happens to Vinny? Like, that's the hard part. This is a whole other topic too, but that's the hard part about two or three super hobby superstars being on the same team. But anyway, yeah. Mm-hmm. So sorry, I try not to get off track, but
no. So I mean, you had this. I'm trying to find this stat you had in the.
9. There was 9 when the day the release came out. To get it to my door, I think was like $155. So I looked, and the 90 days.
Yeah.
This is Deco. Summer Signings was much cheaper, but you didn't get an auto in every box. Yeah. But anyway, Summer Signings was somewhat better. So I went and looked that day just on the eBay chart. So only back 90 days for every Topps Deco year. I just put Topps Deco, and there's been a few years. There was 9 cards sold in the last 90 days that would have covered the box.
That's crazy.
One of those cards was an Erling Haaland 1 of 1 that sold for like $1,460 or something like that. So not even
that's cheap.
yeah. So not even like I don't know what is that like. That's like probably 8.5 times the price of a box for an Erling Haaland 1 of 1. Like what are we like? And then when I posted today, somebody was like, a guy responded and he was like, on demand products get too much grief basically, and that's fine. Like that's if you believe that, then that's your opinion. Like I said in the article, I don't tell anybody how to hobby. I don't tell anybody how to spend their money. I'm just giving you my ideas. But if I can get a 2022-23 Topps Chrome hobby box, which is not a product that I love, to be fair, but they're pretty much the same price now. I get four number cards compared to 2 number cards. I get 1 auto and 1 auto. I get Chrome cards, which are going to last. They're obviously going to be worth more of the same player, the same, parallel card, whatever. The Chrome is going to be worth whatever, multiples more than a deco card. And if you like the big chase, the 1 of 1, Erling Haaland is not going to be a $1,400 card in Topps Chrome. So it's like what my whole point in all of this is there's most people probably have limited money. They have a hobby budget. I don't know if people actually budget, but in theory they have a budget. Yeah. So let's spend it wisely to make it better for everyone. And just funneling money to Topps and Panini is not the best way to do this. I don't want to jump ahead, but that's not.
Yeah. I think one of the problems we see, I was looking back at the calendar from last year, right? So I think one of the things that happens, and especially looking backwards at some of the, because I will do breaks. I run breaks from time to time, certainly not with the frequency of others, but it's a way for me to get in between the themed shows that I run. So you have this lull between now and essentially when either Panini Prism comes out in March, maybe, and first edition Topps will come out in April-ish, and maybe we'll get a Don Russ men's product sprinkled in. But there's this lull in new releases after Topps essentially ramrodded us for the past 5 months of here's Merlin, here's Stadium Club, here's Finest, here's Sapphire, bang bang, no pacing to the releases of those things at all. And so people just get bored. I know people get bored. I got bored.
The thing is, and I agree, I'm not pushing back on the theory because the theory is obviously right. My whole thing is, why not go back to Chrome? It's the same price. Why not go back?
Yeah, we will.
Why not go back to something that is no longer in favor, but is obviously a better ROI and a better product? I can't. I'm not a new person kind of guy. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell people I'm a hobby, but there's plenty of that product back there. You can still go through and hunt Jude rookies for slightly more than Jude, Musiala, that whole loaded class.
Oh yeah.
So the Jude class shot out Soccercardshq United for not that much more than you would buy a Topps Deco 23-24 box for.
No,
that's where I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, my friend Vida, who I think you may know, he ran on the day of the Classico. He had a case of the Bundesliga Chrome Jude rookie year, and he was running 3 boxers. And certainly, I think you could get Dortmund in that for $150 every 3 boxes. So you're basically $50 a box to hunt Jude. And then he had the bananas day that he had then, and it probably would have been a lot more if he'd ran it the next day. But it's just tough. I think from my perspective, what happens is you get sucked into this now, Christmas people are spending money in other places. So I get it. They don't want to release new products now because people are committing money other places. But you get into this January, February time period, and it's just there's nothing going on. And how do we fill the void? And then anything steps in, and it's we have. And I went back to look at Deco's sell sheet from last year. They had all these duals and triples. I didn't see any of those. I didn't see any of those come out of Deco. I was in a few case breaks. I didn't see anything huge come out of Merlin 98, but they put it on that damn sell sheet just to bait bait the hook for you.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about the timing and like this. Look, for anybody that doesn't know, the data plays itself out. October through December is the worst time for cards. Like if you look at any of the statistics, like it's the worst time for cards. And then of course that kind of drags everybody down, sentiment goes down, yada yada yada. But I do think that look, like Panini's releasing football right now. It's like they're not like, oh, we're gonna wait until the end of the year to release football and even basketball. They're a little behind, just because there's gonna be a whole rookie class that's gonna come out. There's gonna be a 23-24 soccer rookie class that's gonna come out, right? And their good stuff is gonna come out in March or later.
Yeah,
when
March.
When we're already gonna know what these guys are, right? We're gonna know if they're now we're not going to know if they're good or bad for ever, but we're going to know probably if they were good or bad this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even to prospect right now, you have the prospect back at least a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, whatever. You have the prospect backwards, which I think is actually really smart right now. But if you're prospecting backwards, but yet you're opening this crap, I'm gonna just call it crap because I don't know what else to call it. Like that, even that, that doesn't even line up with me, right? Like I put in the article, you could have, if instead of, I forget exactly what it was. Summer signings, I think, was going to be like $100 to my door, maybe a little bit less, $90, $100, right? Because it was cheaper. Deco was $160. If you would have bought, instead of spending $100, let's call it, it was September 14th, 13th, I don't know, whenever summer signings went live, you basically gave Topps a loan that day, right? Because it's still not out, right?
Yeah.
So whatever benefit and this is not like, oh, this is so shocking. Like, no, this is what Topps is a lot of the times.
That's their business model. It's like Starbucks, man. Yeah. You're loaning them money. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you just buy, look, if you would have done right, you would have bought Jude. But I'm not even saying buy Jude. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to do a results based like looking back, right?
Right.
I'm just saying you could have bought Victor Boniface, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could have you could have bought a lot of people that were just from last year that had already kind of like, even though because there was such a glut of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of where I'm just like, if we all collectively just didn't buy it, right? We didn't buy Summertime. We didn't buy Deco, right? These things sold out right away, right?
Oh, right away.
So if we don't do that, one, the prices are going to drop, right? Because they're gonna shift it off to distributors or breakers at like a lower cost, and then that lower cost in theory is going to get passed on to us, the consumer, right? So we're just going to save right away, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, hopefully, who knows, that's going to be a signal to them like, oh, we shouldn't keep printing this crap, because they don't want to do that, like they put out projections of what they're going to make, like they're a company at this point, and like they don't want to mark stuff down, like they're trying to meet projections, yada yada yada. So we just shouldn't reward them. Like there's just so many reasons not to reward them, but every year we reward them.
Oh yeah, and it happened with Deco. I mean, it did. That sold out before I could even go decide to buy it or not. It sold out.
And I still can't believe. I don't even know why.
Well, I think I don't know if it's people buying it up to resell it because that market jumps up on the resale, or breakers buying it. I didn't get any.
Yeah, so. I mean, so there's the Ronaldo, Zidane, Figo triple auto.
That's the one I put in the promo. Yeah, beautiful card. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, great card, right? There's going to be 5 of them, 6 of them. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like
6 or 11 or 6 or 16, right? Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't get it, man. I mean, it's Dude, Pedri Musiala, another decent one.
Yeah.
Holland, Irving, Grealish, whatever. Okay, I
Yeah,
was
now
just
I think we're used to the, they teased that last year. Then we had the full run of Chrome duels and triples, Stadium Club duels and triples, Finest duels, triples. Museum did like what, the quad times two, the Otro crazy card. And so I think now we're accustomed to it and probably hoping, like depending on it. Like that's one of the things that moves the needle, especially if you're a breaker, having those big chases in there, right? And we are getting some good questions that we're going to bring in the end. So keep those questions and comments coming in. Let's talk a little bit about and this, you're right on the money with this, the repeat effect. Like I think you said to me a few weeks ago, or you had a post about the sheer like number of Julian Alvarez rookie cards, right? And like how in hindsight it would have been stupid to spend what you spent because now he's got a bajillion rookie cards, right?
yeah.
So the rookies and duels are going to repeat. So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so people get excited when they see the new rookies, right, in Deco. But if they're making it in Deco, that means Topps knows who they are, and they're going to be in everything, right? I mean, whatever. Maybe they'll miss one set or something, but whatever. There's going to be way too many, way too many, right? So, like I put in the article, I just wait until the end and just work backwards because then I know, and I know people like I said in there, if the cards were coming out now, right, and there was some prospecting to be had about a player going off, then that changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know that if I can buy a card in March, or I'm gonna buy, or he's gonna have 10,000, 20, 30, 40,000 more in May, like why am I ever gonna buy in March? Unless if maybe he's on one of the like Champions League teams that's left, and he's doing something and could usually
have a pop. Yeah,
have a pop, but like that's probably not going to happen. Like all the money in prospecting is made in every sport, usually at the beginning of the season. Like beginning to mid of the season. That's just how sports cards works. That's how the psyche works. That's how it always works, unless there's a major tournament, right? Which another thing I didn't put in there, but I probably should have. Like, we're gonna have Copa cards this year. We're gonna have Euros cards this year.
Yeah.
Right. So this idea of like, 2022 2022/2022-23, we had a ton of World Cup, so this is going to be better. I don't think it's going to be better. Like there's going to be still a ton of cards next summer. 2024-25 is maybe when we get the letdown. Like maybe a 2023-24 doesn't sell right, and then there's no major tournaments in that summer. 24-25 we get a lull, and then 2026 obviously we're gonna have a good job.
USA World Cup million cards. But I mean, and to me, like one of the things that I've been doing lately, and I know some of my close friends have been doing, is going back and buying those Prism World Cup cards. Because if you look at sets, like there's all these sets, all these volumes, of player cards. What are the historic sets that have held the test of time? You look at 14 and 18 Prism World Cup, right? So in terms of holding their value. So my strategy now is, while everyone else is focused on buying Topps Finest singles, I'm hunting and gathering Prism World Cup, like 2022, all day. Like preferably graded because the quality's garbage, but I'll take the risk on the raw for the right cards for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I touched on that too. I don't think we have it in the next set. But, with Select this year, Select hadn't been out. Well, there was like a Euros product kind of, but Select 2017 Select is kind of when they started, with the zebras and tie-dyes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And
everybody's so excited about 2022 zebras and tie-dyes, and you can find the exact same player and the exact same quantity in 2017 is cheaper. And that's just the shiny new toy effect. And it just doesn't make sense, but that's just kind of the way it works. And like I said, one of two things is probably going to, if there's a wide enough gap, I'll buy the 2017 if I like the player. but the gap's going to close. Now, I don't know if it's just because the 2022-23 is going to come back down, eventually, or
Yeah.
if the 2017 is going to meet in the middle. I don't know, but I know the gap's going to close, and so do a little research, like look backwards.
The select singles have had the biggest fall off of any, like besides the paper releases. Like the pricing from introduction versus where you can get some of those singles now for 22-23 is remarkable. Like, and when I think of what I saw people pay for Varadona Napoli spots in the Serie A product, which was a very limited, right, release.
Yeah, super.
And they're paying $500 for a spot, and I mean you're getting. I mean I'm buying Varadona single 9-99 singles for like $20-$30.
Yeah,
and he's got no
crazy.
autos. There's no autos. Like it's just the base cards, parallels. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean he was hurt at the beginning of the year, so he missed the first few games.
Yeah.
So that obviously hurts the market or whatever. I mean, the guy's incredible. I watch a lot of Napoli games. The guy's incredible. He's still incredible, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Napoli is going to win.
No.
Scudetto, Serie A. But he's still really good. But yeah, I mean, it's like, Rasmus Højlund not being able to score in the Premier League is not exactly helping.
Not helping
that cause either.
No.
But yeah, I mean that.
It just
the
gets
other
to...
thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. The other thing is they were very sneaky about Select. I give them a lot of credit. They put it out in 4 different sets. There ended up being 5,000, a little over 5,000 cases total of Select. 3,000 of those being EPL.
Yeah.
But most of the good players had. Not only did they double up in the checklist, they doubled up in FIFA. And their respective league. Yeah. So there was just a ton of cards for these players, right? Yeah. So it's dude, some collectors might care if they like the national better than the club or the club better than the national. But if you're just a prospector or something, you're just going to be oh, I want to buy a Messi, I'll buy. If the Messi Argentina or the Messi Barcelona is half the price of the Messi Argentina, it's probably not the case, but I'm just, trying to prove a point. You're just going to take the one that's cheaper. And that's part of the problem with that set. It looked really good on the surface, but if you dug under, it wasn't as great as it seemed.
Well, it's I do this because I collect Arsenal cards. I'm an Arsenal fan. So, Declan Rice, right? Good example. We had, he makes a summer transfer, and I would buy at that point. Once I saw him play in DC for the MLS All-Star game, I'm like, all right, I'm all in Declan Rice. So I would buy West Ham cards, but normally, and a lot of my friends were like, no, I just want to see him in the England kit. I'm not buying anything where he's in a rival Premier League kit. So when you have someone moving, Kai Havertz, same thing, right? Or even Christian Pulisic, I'd much rather have them in the national kit and not the kit of the team that I hate, right? So it does matter, and I think this matters more for collectors versus flippers,
Yeah. That's probably a whole different show, by the way.
Yeah. It's definitely a whole different show.
It's something I think about a lot. For full disclosure, I haven't bought a ton of Jude, but the only Jude I've bought since this whole thing started has been England Jude.
Interesting.
Because
back there.
It's up there. Yeah. I mean, because they're cheap, and I kind of feel from what I kind of base a lot of it. I obviously have a lot of UK followers, so if I'm going through their social media, he didn't go to a Premier League team, so he's not gonna the initial hate of nobody's gonna hate him, right? Yeah. So he's not playing on your rival, right? So if he has success, they're gonna be wanting Jude England cards, everyone, because you don't have that of Saka, if you're a Chelsea fan or something, whatever, like you're like, oh yeah, I definitely don't want a Chelsea, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't know.
Yeah, I think the national, like other, like, I collect a lot of Gavi because I like him as a player. I'm not a Barcelona fan. I don't, I'm kind of agnostic on that. But so I don't have a true preference there, right? Like Barcelona kit, Spain kit, doesn't matter. I don't see him really leaving Barcelona. Maybe he will, but I'm not, I'm not going to distinguish. But in the EPL, I for sure will. But then that happens to be the product that they overprint everything of, right? Like, still, Premier League, Prism Premier League now is super cheap because nobody wants it. Like, I couldn't fill a break. I had a Prism Choice break, cheapest I'd ever seen it, can't fill it, right? And one of the comments we see that we're going to pull in is people going back to try to run old product and breakers not being able to fill those breaks. And so it's that distinction in the hobby between like you and me buying singles on eBay or Golden Elite, wherever you spend your money, and breakers breaking it and what that does for the community in general.
No, and I get it. I mean, like I get it from the standpoint I know it's a thing. I don't get it from the psychology part of it. Meaning, like, I know it happens. It's so weird to me. From every way I look at it, like, it's just weird to me. It's like I said, everybody's trying to get. Look, I know there's a lot of gambling aspect of like this whole thing, and maybe the prospecting of like I want to be right, so forth and so on. But like I even had a discussion, like a breaker from Australia called me out, and we got on a live, and his whole thing was, like, because usually in my reviews I'm like, wait, just wait out the FOMO, right? And one of his like points was like, well, you can't wait out the FOMO because the first cards to market are the ones that are getting the most. Facts, true, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's impossible for everybody to be first to market. There's only one person that can be first to market, and so it's like a dream that's being sold that is not really, reality.
Yeah.
And I know it's only first, but.
Well, it's the same magical thinking of like me joining the break thinking I'm going to hit the Holland 1/1 auto, right? Like it's that same it's that same wavelength of gambling mentality of like, that's why. And then people will say, this drives me absolutely crazy when I see this, like a big 1/1 gets hit and they're like, oh, the chase is over. And I'm like, were you joining the break for that like, you can't reasonably have thought that was like, that's a bonus whenever you hit a 1/1. It's not like the reason that you're entering or have anything to do with the pricing of this product.
It usually adds, let's call it $1 or $2 to the price of the ROI of a box, depending on the product, how big the card. But it's literally like $1 or $2. But for breakers or for anyone selling the dream, that's what they rely on, and that's, like I said, that's Topps. That's clearly Topps' model going forward.
Oh, yeah. You saw that a lot in Chrome, too. And I think I ran a break like this early where everyone was just selling the duals and triples for like $10, $20. You get, because we didn't want to have to split it up. You had that stupid, weird Holland, Messi, Ronaldo one, and some others that were mixed. The Jude Musiala one, the Vinny Neymar one, right? All these blended teams, real pain in the ass to randomize that if somebody gets it. So the conclusion was, well, we'll just sell we'll sell the spots cheap and you take a $20 lottery ticket basically. And that's fine. But then that, it is gambling. I mean, anybody that says it's not would be fooling themselves. But we will see, I think the bigger point that you made that was a really good point is that you will consistently see Julian Alvarez is the best example of this. Like in every single product, in every different way, like you will if you wait, and you don't even have to wait till the bitter end really, like once Chrome and Sapphire are out, you'll have a sense of like where this is going.
Lamine Yamal is probably going to have the most rookie cards than anyone because he's obviously covered by Topps, Panini, although I guess maybe La Liga compared to Premier League, maybe. But then, of course, he made Spain, so they're going to get him into every Euros product, So, and so, what do you do there? Like, so you hope you get one of the early ones, and then you sell it for a bunch of money, and in the end, you're gonna be down. Like, I'm sorry,
yeah.
I don't care what he does. I don't care if he goes full Jude Bellingham for the rest of the season when he has 25,000 numbered cards, which might even be low when it's all said and done. Like, the market just can't sustain it, So, like, but trying to convince people of that is just,
no. PSA 10 Lamine Yamal Mega Cracks, $425 still. So
yeah. I mean, it's Anyway,
unnumbered. Yeah. All right. Let's go to topic 3 here, and this is tied closely with what we've been talking about. You just can't identify what is going to be truly scarce until later. This is where I usually am waiting for Merlin, right? Because that's the set that kind of mixes things up. I know you like Merlin too.
Yeah, I liked it a lot more when when club competition wasn't everything.
Yes.
But I just know that's the end of usually that's like the end of the cycle. And if a rookie has a card in there, and that's the only one, now I'm interested. Or I can look back at sets previous and say, oh, so and so was only in Finest, or so and so was only in Chrome, or whatever. When I talked to Tops, I told him, I said, you have to change these checklists up. If your plan, and this was before last year, I said, if your plan is to just put the same rookies in the same sets, that's not very smart. And they did. Look, I'll give them credit. They did change things up. They had new rookies in Merlin. They did change up some teams throughout the way. The big guys that they clearly identified early were in everything. Like we knew they would be.
Well, you get Boniface in Merlin, so that's a good one. Arda Güler only in Merlin and Stadium Club, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not. I mean, that's.
They did what they could. When you're printing so much, there's only so much you can do.
What's the guy you were on? The Belgian, or plays in the Belgian league. What the guy you're always bitching? Yeah, Gift Orban. Yeah. Hasn't been in yet. Will he be in Deco?
No,
because they weren't in.
And he's not even that. He hasn't started off hot. So I mean, that was the thing. I identified him early. I mean, you get my tweets early, basically on the move. And so it sucks knowing you're right and just nothing you can do other, buy a so rare card or something. That's the frustrating part of this release schedule now. Even if you identify the person, if they don't have a card for this purpose, what's the point? So that's why I think they shoot themselves in the foot, not getting these people in. I mean, I sent Tops my list. I was like, here's my list. And some just didn't make it, but it is what it is, But another thing I want to bring up, and I brought up in the article, is design. I think design is that gets, I think subconsciously we realize that once it's already gone and happened, and we can see it in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of people take it in consideration while it's happening, right? So design, people, I believe a lot of people at their core want the prettiest cards, or whatever, however you want to describe that.
I want to looking at these things. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. You want to looking at them. There's a reason that, a superfractor is going to sell for more than a pappardascio, right? Just because it's just gold is better than pink for most
gold
people,
is better than orange Gold is better than green. Yeah.
Gold is better than orange. Gold is better than green. Like, and so if a card is ugly, like full bleed, full bleeds, I think we can. Even if you're not a full bleed person, I think you can at least admit that full bleed is probably the most preferred parallel, right? Over border, over, whatever else you want to call them. So, like, that's why I think, like, Finest, even though it doesn't do great, it still holds its own, even though it's not considered a great product because they're full bleed. Like, I think if they took the freaking, like, Saved by the Bell designs out of the back of them, the graphics,
Lisa Frank. Yeah.
Like, they would be even better. But, like, if you see a Finest Super, they're incredible cards.
Great
right?
card. Yes.
Yeah. And so that's one thing I wanted to point out because I want people to, like, the thing that I pointed out in the article is, like, 2020 Stadium Club compared to 2021. Like, 2021, you couldn't even tell the colors.
Night and day.
You couldn't tell the colors. So if you see that's happening, just, like, you just kind of got to bail. Like, I don't care if it says gold 50. Like,
don't care. It's terrible.
Yeah. And eventually, maybe on release, people will be fooled. But down the line, it's just not going to hold up, And that's another thing. Like, don't reward these manufacturers for making crap. Like, they know what's good. They're not idiots. They knew when they saw that come out that, like, that was not how it should be, and they just still shoved it down our throat, and people still bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it's like you get 2 years ago the Road to Qatar, right? Like, we all hated this Road to Qatar. The logo was bad. The rollout was bad. You buy that hobby case of Donruss Road to Qatar had to be the heaviest case I've ever lifted in my whole life. Like, 3,600 cards in a case. We did a 2-case break. It was 7,200 cards. And 99% of it was base that you just threw away, right? The Kaboom carried the set. But your point about Stadium Club and, like, buying cards that look good. And I think they mostly fixed Stadium Club this year. Not as good as 2020, but, like, the cards, I think that's down to the card stock, in my opinion, being slightly thinner. But they fixed that bleed issue mostly. None are as good as 2020 or even the Stadium Club Bundesliga. They had that right last year, but they messed up the UEFA release. I don't know why.
Yeah, and another thing, like, 2020 color tops had, like, the notch on the back, right?
Yeah.
When you see the notch on the back, I mean, it's just like a killer. There was the Jude. It was like a Jude Green Sapphire rookie to 75 the other night, right? It has the notch on the back.
Yeah.
No, it was listed as a PSA 8. The raw was in your Discord. Shout out the BTL Discord. Everybody.
Thank you.
The URL's down there at the bottom. It's like, it's a Jude Sapphire, which is probably his best, rookie set, right?
Yeah.
Up 75. I know people hate green, so, like, that is what it is. But I think it ended for $178 because it was a PSA 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the one in your Discord, I think, was 300 raw. If you see it, it has the notch. Like,
it's going to be an 8 at best. Yeah.
It's going to be an 8 at best. I don't know if it's sold. I didn't see.
Probably was an 8 once upon a time. Like,
probably was an 8.
Yeah.
And so, like, if a set comes out and it has that issue, like, perfect example is the PhD Topps Chrome on card set, right?
God,
the most hyped set maybe ever, right?
So hyped.
And we see those cards. I didn't buy because the preceding ones going into that were crap, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to see what these autos looks like. I want to see what these surface looks like. And sure enough, it was just crap.
Garbage.
I don't care. This is a whole nother topic, but the whole idea of first auto is a freaking myth. It is a myth, a myth, a myth. I cannot drive that home enough. The data says it's a myth because it is a myth. Once time passes, nobody can tell you when Pele's first auto was. Nobody can tell you what Messi's first auto was. I mean, some people can, don't get me wrong. But nobody can tell you when Maradona's first auto was. Like, it's a myth, So anyway, get off my soapbox. But Yeah, you have to look at quality. So if a product
Mm-hmm.
comes out, and that's the thing, like if you're buying pre-sale, you don't know, which kind of sucks. But like I just
Yeah.
I was a I was a big I've always been a big pre-sale buyer, right? Big, kind of try to figure out like based on the preview and just like because usually they'll show you how many parallels and I can just do some quick math and kind of trying to figure it out and yada yada whatever. But I just don't buy anything pre-sale anymore. Like I've just got burned way too many times, and it's just not worth it. So for 2023, 24, I probably should go back and add this to the article. Like wait, wait, look at quality, and then if at anything, then decide.
Yeah.
Because where have you really got burned? Where did you get burned in 2022, 23? Just not pre-buying Eminence? Like,
Yeah.
and that's a whole different ball of crap. But other than that, like, where did you get burned?
No.
Donruss was a pretty good pre-buy, but mostly it's all either there or down.
Yeah.
In range or down. It's not up enough to where you're like, damn, I really blew that one. Because even the selects came out super high. Like,
Donruss only got saved because they included the USA women, which were hot at the time. So it, like pulled up that whole set, and it was not nearly as bad as the year before.
yeah.
I think everyone was just surprised that it was decent. Was the the saving grace?
I'm gonna be honest. I bought. That's the last thing I bought. No, I lied. I think no, I bought that pre. I don't think I bought anything. But the only reason I bought that pre is because in the sell sheet they're like night moves is another case.
Mm-hmm.
Kabooms are cases. Night moves are another case. I actually love the night moves.
Me
Like
too. Yeah.
the night moves don't get enough respect. I know they printed way too many. I get it. That just feels like a card that should be worth more. And I think that's kind of like coming around a little bit now, just from like what I'm seeing. But like there was a time like 4 months ago or something, you could get night moves for nothing. But anyway, and so I was like, all right, this thing is priced cheaper than last year, right?
Yeah, it was cheaper.
It's gonna have, it's gonna have an extra 2021, 22 was like $500. Like
Yeah, because
like,
it came out
remember,
still in the boom. Yeah, it was still boom pricing.
I mean, I still like my graphic was don't buy this crap at $500. But anyway,
Yeah.
but I was like, I was getting cases I think for like 1,900 or 2,000, so less than 200 a box. I was like, there's an extra case hit. There is the women. There's like the national. It just seemed to make sense. My theory was right, but I didn't make a ton of money. So like if I would have missed it, I wouldn't have been like, damn, like I missed it. What's funny is I bought cases from like different places, and like two of my orders got canceled, and that's the other part. Like I bought them on eBay from this merchandise liquidators company, whatever.
Yeah.
I pay for them 2 months before, and then they just never ship them. Like so, it's
fulfilled
like,
or whatever. Yeah.
They just like no, we don't have it, and so it's like why am I going to give these? Why am I going to tie my money up?
I never do it. I almost never do the pre-buy unless it's like Sapphire or something I really like.
Yeah, and it's like what? So I'm going to tie up my money, and if I am right, these people are just going to cancel on me. Like they're all scum.
Yeah.
So,
like if it's actually a good product, they're canceling the order. Yeah.
Yeah. So like just wait, man. I can't stress enough. I know people aren't going to listen, but at least you can be like, I'm saying it, because it just you get to know what the product is, you get to know everything, and like, but yeah, until price, like, look, if something comes out super cheap and I see it, I'm going to be the first one to let you know. I can't buy it all. So that's kind of the point of the review. As long as they give me a checklist, like I try to get it out so you can. Oh
yeah. All right, let's do that. Let's do the hot take. So the hot take is Buying garbage sets drives single prices down. And this is your theory about the market, well, part of it at least.
Yeah.
Walk us through this. This is good.
Okay. So singles prices are down. There's no, not every single point, like Jude's up, but on a whole, singles prices are down. Like there's no hiding from it. But I think a lot of people have it totally wrong why singles prices are down. They're like, oh, everybody left the hobby or the economy's bad or blah, 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 And I would be willing to bet that there's as much money being spent now each month, each day in soccer cards, maybe not in other cards, in soccer cards as there ever was.
Yeah.
The problem is all the money, or way too much of the money, not all the money, way too much of the money is being spent on these sets that are crap. That money is being funneled to Topps and Panini, and it might as well be getting locked in a safe for us never to see it again. So I guess the other hot take, or the more hot take, or the better hot take is
hotter take.
The hotter take is that flippers were actually good for the hobby.
Here it is.
And that if you had flippers, at least the flippers were the ones making the profit and then putting that money back in the hobby instead of it just going to Topps or Panini or eBay or Golden or whatever these selling platforms are. Like, it was good. Like, I'm not saying the flippers tipped off the companies that they weren't charging enough. So from that aspect, that wasn't good. But if the market was gonna set the price, which ultimately I do think the market sets the price, I would rather the flipper make the money than the manufacturer. And that's not happening because, like I said, not every flipper, put the money back in, but a lot of them did. Even if they're now gone, some of that money that they were making came back in the hobby. And I think a lot of it, I don't know about a lot, but like a good bit of it, did. And so for people, I don't want to go too far off the road, but economy is the exchange of money within the ecosystem, right? The economy is how much money is being spent between the individuals. If you have a good economy, it's because money is changing a lot of hands within the ecosystem. If money leaves the ecosystem, that's when you have a bad economy, right? So basically giving all this money to Topps and Panini is creating the bad, quote unquote, soccer card economy, right? We know that America, even though we talked about this before, the same kind of thing is happening with it, at least in America. I can't speak to Europe or other parts of the world, but I'm kind of guessing we've been told in America that there was going to be a recession for the last, 18 months.
The longest forecasted recession in history. Yeah.
And the recession never came, right? Or it hasn't come yet. I'm not going to sit here and say a recession isn't coming. I don't know, right? I just know that there was articles, 100% recession in the next year, right? And it's been over a year there wasn't a recession. And so I was listening to a financial podcast today, and it said the difference between the sentiment of the U.S. consumer and the actual results of U.S. corporations has never been wider. Everybody thinks the economy's bad right now. We literally had the Fed, Jerome Powell, come out today and said the economy is strong, right? But you can't convince everybody I got a whole different reason. But so there's this whole idea that, everything's bad, but really it's not, everything isn't bad. So I brought up to you, yes, singles prices are bad. But if Topps and Panini had to release their financials, if they were public and had to release earnings like public companies, their numbers would be through the roof. Their numbers would be through the roof. Their stock prices would be through the roof. And I wish they were, because then we could at least participate. We could invest. Yeah. We know it's great.
We're already investors. Yeah.
We could make some of that money. We're all investors, and then we can dump that money in and buy more cards.
Yep.
But that's not happening. So that's the part. That's why ultimately I wrote the article, because I just kept hearing this. I told you I listened to this other sports card podcast, and the guy's like, "Oh, prices are bad because the U.S. economy is bad," and it's not true. Like,
It's not true. Neither of the
like
things are true. Yeah.
yeah, consumer spending is through the roof. Like, consumer spending is high as it's ever been. People are spending money. I can only speak to Americans, but Americans spend. That's what we do. We spend money, right? And we're spending money. So the problem is, like I said, the money that's being spent in the hobby, way too much of it is going to these companies. And I can go all the way back when PSA made. I was a PSA investor. I invested in the tops. It was a SPAC at the time. It got destroyed. I invested in both of those. When Steve Cohen and Nat Turner did their dirtiness with Joe Orlando, and then when Fanatics pulled their deal and basically pulled the baseball rug, everybody there was this euphoria in the hobby that, oh, the smart money's coming in, and look, we're legitimate, because people that were in before, it's like, oh, it's kind of this, oh, you collect cards, it's seedy, but not seedy, but like grow up, kind of a whatever.
Yeah. Oh, Panini's this Italian mafia company. Yeah.
And so it's like everybody was like, oh yeah, like we have these smart, respectable, big money, like we're now, we're part of this respectable thing. I warned everybody. I said, these people are sharks. These people only came to take all of our money, basically, right? They saw undervalued assets. They came in, they bought them, and they just did it. They didn't do it.
That's the Fanatics business. That's their model.
Yeah,
that's
their model, right? So it's like, Nat Turner might collect cards. Great. Spend money on cards now. Nat isn't thinking about the everyday collector as whatever his role, is over there. Yeah. Like PSA, I don't want to get too much into it. It pisses me off. I was an investor in PSA. It was a public company. So basically, Nat was brought in by someone to unlock the value of the company. Nat saw all of the financials, goes to Steve Cohen and says, basically, we need to buy this company. Like, this is straight from the mouth. And they bought the company. I forget the exact number. Let's call it $800 million. Okay, they bought the company $800 million. What did they do after they bought it? They literally shut the company down. They had so much business. They shut the company down. They opened it back up months later. They raised the prices. And when they opened it back up, they raised money at a $4 billion valuation.
Yeah, 5x.
They did nothing, shut the company down, and it was 5x. Because they didn't, like, I knew, like, I've never had so much insight into a public company as I did with PSA, and we all did, because all you had to do was look at your wait times, right?
Yeah.
That's all. It was cool, right? How many? You could look at a pop report. You could pull the API of a pop report. You know how many cards are getting graded. You know how much you were paying for cards. You could roughly look at past expenses, and you knew the thing was just piling up. So now they raise prices. All that money's gone. PSA's not putting money back in, right? eBay raises their fees a percentage or two. That money. No. Golden, he raises his thing percentage to 5, whatever it is. That all that money is just getting sucked out of the economy. Yeah. And like I put in the article, if you're a breaker, if you're someone that buys into breaks, and you're a breaker, and you're a breaker, and we know you collect cards, so I'm perfectly fine saying this, but I would say it even if you're not. We might not ever have another thing. It is what it is. But if you're if your breaker is not a collector, just stop giving them your money.
Oh yeah, totally agree.
There's not enough. I mean, the price difference isn't enough to just stop. And the less money we give to these companies, the higher the prices are going to go, right? So, like I put in there, sell cards through social media, sell cards through the BTL Discord. Look, the URL's right there. Join the Discord.
Your check's in the mail.
No, but just think about it. Like, if a card sells for $150, and everybody kind of knows this, but I don't think they think about it the right way. So if a comp, hate comps, go back and watch the last YouTube video on this channel. Yeah, but if let's call the eBay comp, $100, right? What are you getting? $83 or something?
$83. Yeah.
Yeah, call it $83, right? So if and the person that paid the $100 is, unless they have no state tax or whatever, like they're paying 105, 110.
110.
The shipping's got the shipping is the shipping, right? So that's like $20, let's call it, on average, right? So even if you sell your card for 95, right? Then like if you do goods and services, that's 3%, whatever, $2 or $3. So that's an extra like 15% that's staying in the economy.
Right.
Because
both ends. Yeah.
You're getting more, which I think is all most sellers care about, but your buyer now has more money because, as I said, we all have limited money that we're willing to spend in this hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it from both ends. Like, don't simply think about it from yourself. So go Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Discord. It just makes so much more sense. Like, we're just giving so much money away. It's like, and that, in my opinion, is why prices are down the way they are. Like I said, and I gave the example in the article that Topps paper product, which just started to come out, not last year, but 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago. If I calculated the amount of boxes, the amount of hobby boxes, the amount of blasters at what they sold at the time, which was, I used 65 and 20 in case anybody wants to know. It was right at $8.5 million if everybody would have spent that much on those boxes. Which obviously didn't happen. But even if we call it half of that, right? Let's say half of it was bought by now, open, at least bought. Doesn't matter if it was open. It only mattered if it was bought. So now you're talking about $4.25 million.
Yeah.
And like half of that is going to Topps, right? Like it's just it's gone. So you're talking about $2 million because those cards aren't worth much, So you're talking about let's call it two. I mean, this is rough math, right? But you're talking about $2 million on a product that nobody cares about, that everybody would still buy. Imagine that $2 million just spread out like on stuff that was good. Like $2 million in this hobby makes a difference. Like if it's
for sure.
If it's spent on the quote unquote right singles, or like that's basically like the boom happened because all the money was staying in the hobby. Like I don't think a lot of people really kind of wrap their heads around that. Like, yeah, there was money coming from the outside. Obviously, that helped. But people were like, "Oh, stimulus." People were getting $1,200 a month. Some people were getting $1,200. I didn't get $1,200.
I didn't get anything.
but we're like, the money was staying in. Because people were making that profit and they were putting it back in.
Putting it right back in. There was nothing else to do.
There was nothing else to do, and there was way less products. So the money that was being put back in was being put into condensed products. So now the money is leaving and the amount of options is increasing. That's a terrible, terrible setup for this whole thing, Yeah. And it's why I was going to put this in there, but I didn't. One thing I've said it: the lack of a go-to rookie card is something that's like bad for soccer cards. And I say that because people be like, "Oh, well, Chrome is." Well, no, it's not. Like a person playing Merlin right? It's probably the best, depending on the year. It's probably the best, but like it's not the go-to. It's not the one where you can just look at like a Bowman first for baseball, or Prism for basketball and football, or Topps Chrome if you don't want first, but whatever. And so what happens is all this money is people are just happy to prospect where they can get in, right? They're not prospecting the right thing. They're just prospecting a thing.
Wherever they can.
Right?
Yeah.
They're prospecting because they're like, oh, well, if Topps Chrome gold of blah, blah, blah is 300, but finest is 100, I'm just going to get the finest because there's only 50 of them, and and it's gold, and so the money is just too spread out. And so what then happens is the cards don't go the right card, the quote unquote right cards. Let's call them the chrome cards for this example. They don't go up a lot, so therefore they don't drag the other ones up because basically stuff usually moves like in step. So if if the V cards go up, then the other ones will kind of drag. But like if the money can just be spread out and spread out and spread out, so like when something good does happen, the V card only goes up a small percentage. That is not good. So that's another thing. Like we just have this, we can basically spend money in too much places. So let's get to the question.
We'll see. This is I think kind of where you're going, where it's the money's too spread out and it's not focused. It's not concentrated on the spots it should be. It's why as a breaker, I'm not going to ever sell anything that I wouldn't buy into. So I'm not running the women's Donruss product because it's just not something that I'm interested in. I'm not going to run it's just not a thing I would do. It's not a thing I'm not going to run Merlin 99 because I'm not going to buy Merlin 99. So, trying to curate where we don't just have to do every single thing, right? Like not every breaker has to do every single thing. But I think the problem that a lot of that has right now is that so many of these guys use breaking as their primary source of income, right? So for me, it's a hobby. Like the breaking's a hobby, the shows are a hobby, collecting's a hobby. It's a hobby for you, right? We have other ways to make money. If this is your only way to make money, you're going to try to make every single penny you can. And there's just still too much of that in the hobby.
I don't blame the breakers necessarily because the breakers are only able to break because the consumers are buying into the breaks, right? So, I mean, look, there are some breakers that are probably a little bit manipulative, but I think a lot of that, from what I see, I think a lot of it's gone. And like I was saying before, don't spend your money with breakers that don't collect. I think a lot of that's gone. At least the ones that I know and I talk to, for the most part, collect. So I don't blame. If they can't fill, then they're not going to run, right?
Right.
And so it's not only them that are the problem.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. If they're going to make the money that they can, and we're in a capitalistic society, like that's just how it works. If they can't fill, if you're not paying, then they can't run.
Yeah.
So
it's Brian C says it's interesting how all the breakers cycle products. No Prism World Cup for 8 months, and now it's back. And to me, the reason is because in the past 4 months we've had Topps Chrome, Stadium Club Chrome, Merlin Chrome, Finest, all within since the summer, right? Like all those have dropped since June. And it's just one, after another. There's no room to drop in. No one will buy into Prism World Cup when all that stuff's coming out. There's just no demand for it for a number of reasons.
And look, like I said earlier, go back to Prism. It makes sense.
Now people are. Yeah, now I think a few are. Yeah.
I haven't looked at the pricing, the box pricing lately, but I'm sure if I had to guess, it makes sense, because like you said earlier, at the end of the day, Prism cards, even if they're not worth it now, they're probably going to stand the test of time better than most, if not all, So get it, get them. Why? What's why not?
Well, you got the thing is that the case pricing's still high relative to the stuff that's out now.
I don't.
Yeah, relative to I can get a case of Finest for $1,200, $1,300, right? Then a case of Hobby Prism is going to cost me $4,000, $5,000, and so to break it, I'm passing that cost along to the consumer. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why you see less of it. Is that stuff was more expensive relative to now. Some of the wax pricing. It's definitely down from last year, but it's even down within the year. Finest is down. You can get into those breaks a lot cheaper than you get into a Prism World Cup break in theory.
Yeah, and the other thing that's pretty funny to me, and I've said it. I think I've said it in my socials before, but obviously I get asked a lot, like, "Oh, what's the best thing to buy right now? What's the best box to buy?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And my response is the same every single time. I said, if you're looking for pure ROI, the product I'm going to tell you you're not going to want to break because it's not cool, and that's why the ROI is the best, right? And nobody wants to hear that. Okay, like, and so like you can get 21, 22. What was it? Finest Bundesliga. It was either Finest Bundesliga or Bundesliga Chrome.
You mean the National Redemption boxes? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I saw them. They're like $300 for a case,
Yeah.
right? Like something ridiculous. I saw a case. I was just like, it still has Jude, still has Jamal Musiala, still has Erling Haaland, still has Drew Arena. The rookie class, it's not great. I actually think there's a few kids in there that are still young, and that's another thing. But we won't get into that.
Plus, it's got those. The light boxes have those non-numbered gold ray waves that sell way beyond what they should for what they are.
Yeah, those are like if you're looking for ROI, like that's where it's at. Like but nobody wants to hear that.
I always I have like a little spreadsheet I send people where it's like you'll almost always make your money back on a box of Chrome Light, like Topps UEFA Chrome Light. Like it just has the highest statistical probability that if you grind out selling every card, you'll make you're most likely to make your money back.
And nobody wants to hear it.
It's not fun. It's not sexy.
It's not sexy. And there's this. I'm interested to see how this plays out this year. There's this. So, Topps Museum and let's say Immaculate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Impeccable, or whatever. They're essentially the same, not the same product, but for all intents and purposes, patch autos, patch, thick card, yada yada, right? And the Panini products are considered way better, in my opinion, simply because Panini charges more for them. There's no every museum is pretty much all player and or match worn, right? And Panini for the most part is non-associated.
Nothing's associated. Panini, one of one, not associated. Yeah.
So, because Panini charges $800 or $1,000 or whatever they get for it, and Topps Museum is $300, people are like, oh, Topps Museum must be bad, and this Panini whatever is good, and that stuff just baffles me too, man. The psyche of it all. And it's like that's how you kill ROI, when you overpay just because somebody charges you more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happens in a lot of these products. Nobody wants the products that aren't sexy, like you said. It's not quote unquote fun. And so those products end up being the ones that you should go to, but you're never going to be able to fill a break for it.
No.
I was actually thinking though, I would think if you ran, if you were one of those people, I don't really love random teams or wheels or whatever.
Mm.
But if you go 2021, 22 Bundesliga product, right? Not a ton of rookies, but the boxes are literally $30.
Oh, it's nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
There's 20 teams in there. You're telling me the chances of hitting you can't run a $5 random team, and people aren't just gonna do that.
Oh, people
you're gonna
do
get
that.
$100.
Yeah, they do that.
You're gonna get $100 for but nobody does that.
Well, yeah, you see it a lot in the UK. I think when I go on Whatnot and see the UK streamers seem to do a lot of 1-2 box breaks.
Yeah,
it's not for me. It is how I got back into the soccer part of the hobby, was doing 1 box Aoki Chrome breaks with a guy who doesn't break anymore. That was my entry point back in. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't interest me anymore. And most of the people that I'm friends with, or the folks that are in my Discord that are in there all the time, now we've curated this expectation that it's got to be a case break. You know what I mean? Or multi-case break to get excited about it. So,
Yeah. So, Anyway,
It's like, can I run 200? What did we do? 200 Merlin blasters? I think I did 5 full cases of Merlin blasters in 6 hours. I had my kids sitting here ripping the packs for me. Like, yeah. Chris Duarte says he was saying for a while that lights were the truth. So there are believers out there who are responsive to the gospel.
yeah.
Someone said earlier, oh, yeah, I want to bring this one in because it is interesting. I see breakers trying to go back to Chrome and Merlin, and they're having trouble filling.
We touched on it.
I see the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kobe's having trouble running. Kobe tried to run a three caser of 2020, 2021 Chrome, which is looking like a monster product. I think what happens though with a lot of those products, and the reason it doesn't work, is that people give up on prospects way too early, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so then you can't make up all the money on the Jude or the Jamal. Like people do it all the time. Like
Pedri.
Soccer, a lot of these players, like 17
people gave up
years
on Pedri. Like people gave up on Doku. Like
people gave up on Doku. People giving up on Pedri. Like, are you kidding? Like people have essentially given up on Gavi. Like they just give up so quickly, and then chase players that are more than likely not going to be better than any of those players, right? But it's just the psyche of it all, and that's. I'm a big fan. I was talking to someone the other day. I really wish the boom or the print run boom would have happened in 2021, 22 instead of 2020, 2021, because to reverse prospect the 2021, 2020, 20, that's why they call it the Jude class.
The Jude class.
It's really hard to say. But to be able to go back and reverse prospect that even at 2019 levels would be incredible right now. But they just can't. That's when the boom, that's when the boom happened. So it's like it's not nearly as good as it should be. But I mean, those prices, I'd rather break 20 out of all the 2018 on. I haven't looked closely, but I'm pretty sure if you made me, you're like, okay, you have to spend money and you have to open the box. What year would it be? 2020, 2021 would hands down be pretty sure. You know?
For sure.
Because those guys are still
those guys. Jude's 20.
All those guys.
Pedri's 20. Like these guys are kids.
All those guys we met. That's the funniest thing. This is probably another show, as we said before. Julian Alvarez is old. Well,
older than Holland. Yeah,
he's old. But
23.
People get so tricked by when the rookie card comes out that it doesn't matter. Like, we just named all those players. They're all at least a year to 3 years younger than Julian Alvarez. And they all had rookie cards 2 years before Julian Alvarez.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all that kind of comes out in the wash, but it doesn't come out
in the short term.
It doesn't come out in the short term. And so, I mean, we're still pretty young in this whole soccer card boom. Like, soccer cards have been around, but if we say it started in 2020, which is when
ultra
80, 80% of the collectors now probably have come in post. I don't know that up, but we're so early, right? And at least me, I have the advantage of looking at other sports and saying, this is what has happened, right? And so, and it's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna play out the same way. There's some things that are different. Like I said, the go-to rookie card is different. The club and the national is throws a little wrench into things. But I think people that if you came in 2020 or 2021, you've seen. Let's just say you've seen the last two release years, right?
Yeah.
You should, if you've been paying attention, you should have a pretty good idea, right?
I would think,
of kind of how this is going to go. And so I'm interested, like you asked if I was excited. I am interested to see how it goes, right? I'm interested to see if people start kicking in Panini's teeth for putting out crap products this year. I'm interested to see if Panini puts out crap products this year, right?
Yeah.
Like I put in there, stop buying. Like, I don't buy sticker autos. I don't buy non-associated, right? Like, it seems cool now, but like you have to look at everything through the lens of supply and demand, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if if the supply of on card or the supply of match worn is staying the same and or just slightly increasing, while the demand of non-associated and sticker is booming through the roof, like, you have to realize what's happening, right? Because we know, even if right now you're buying, or you can't afford on card, or if you can't afford match worn, right? So you're somewhat new or whatever, you're like, oh, I got a patch card.
Yeah,
great.
Right.
But if you continue this hobby journey, hopefully you make more money in life, or hopefully you can contribute the same and or more to this hobby. You know what the better card is. You know that the on card is the better card. You know the match worn is the better card, right? So everybody, LAFC Gooner said it very well. It was a show like a year ago. I think it was like the first Burbank show. Anyway, he had his case. He has a case out, and like the bottom cards was, I don't know, let's call it like $100, $200 cards,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of worked its way up. And at the top, he had 5-figure cards, right? And he was like, and he points at the bottom. He's like, everybody has these cards. Nobody wants them. And these cards at the top is what everybody wants, but nobody has,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody's trying to like work their way up, right? And so I just hope people realize that, like, spend your money in the right. I shouldn't say the right places. There is no right place. You hobby the way you want to hobby, spend the way you want to spend.
Yeah.
But just look at what's like going on, and maybe try to see what is going to happen in the long run. And because like I said, for me, it all gets back to, we all have limited money. Some have more than others, but
Right.
make the best decisions for the growth of the hobby. Like, that's where everything. I want growth, because growth is good for all of us.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I hate the negativity. I try to stay out, and it's like,
Yeah, me too.
and people get mad at me because if I come out with a review that's not positive and they're a breaker, they say I'm being negative.
Yeah, you're hurting their business. Yeah, right.
I'm hurting their business, but I'm not trying to hurt your business. I'm trying to grow the hobby.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. So it's like,
And I think we do agree that it has grown. It's just because the volume of stuff that's out there, it's the money's more spread out. And I have this experience too. Like, I'm selling to the same people over and over again that are in my Discord, link below.
it's not below, but
It's not below right now. It was below. It'll come back in a minute. They only have a certain amount of money they're going to spend on cards, and you just wear them down over time. And I try to be conscious of that. So now we're in a phase where it's like, okay, I had a show, but I haven't run a break in a little while. And, we don't have any more products coming out. So we're going to do some fun. Like, I got a Christmas show, pre-Christmas, like National Lampoon Christmas Vacation show coming up. One of the little board games we play. But I think you got to be conscious of that. If you've been in the hobby for a while, you see kind of the pace at which these things release, and you just, be aware of that going into next year. It's going to be, I think, another really exciting year, not just for cards, but for soccer in this country, right? We've got Copa America. We're going to have Club World Cup the year after that, and then World Cup in 2 years from now, or 2 years from next year. So it's going to be super exciting. Obviously, Messi will be in MLS releases probably very soon. So I'm 8 out of 10, man. I'm 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm on the hobby. Like, the hobby, I'm 8 out of 10, if not more. Like, I released my article. I went and looked at my Google Analytics, and like, when I see like Europe and like not just like England or France, when I see Europe light up, because like in Google Analytics, like you get the little dots and who's
where
on
they're
your
looking
site,
at
who's
it.
on your site, and who's on your site at that time. And I actually took a screenshot today. I might post it, But that's just like a minute in time, and it's like Turkey, and it's
Oh, it's
like
crazy. Yeah.
like there's people in Turkey, there's people in Norway, there's people in like the hobby's growing. Like anybody that tells you this hobby, like from a participant is not growing, has not looked at shows in Europe. Like the hobby, the soccer card hobby, based on participants, is absolutely growing. I just hope everybody doesn't get burnt out. And the problem is, I lived through the junk wax era. Topps and Panini don't give a crap about us. They have very little foresight. They know they get these cycles, and they just have this mentality of let me strike while the iron's hot, get all the money I can right away, instead of like, hey, maybe it's better if like the whole Michael Rubin or Fanatics. I think it was right out of Rubin's mouth, like 10xing the hobby. He's trying to 10x the hobby.
10x the hobby. 10x their revenue is what he means.
He's trying to 10x their revenue through gambling, aka breaking. Like, just be smart.
And we should do a show. We should do a show where we review all the different platforms, because that Fanatics Live, I've got thoughts about that. But I think Brian C said it best: make it rain. The hobby for me, it's brought me in touch with people I'd never be in touch with. I've got guys in the Discord from Denmark, Czech Republic. There's a guy I talk to every day from Italy, the guy who pulled the Holland triple super in a break. Like, I would never talk to these people otherwise. So it's expanded my, universe, so to speak. Some of my best friends are from all over the country in the hobby. We meet up once a year, twice a year, and it's been great. So if you focus on that and find a community, and it doesn't have to be the BTL Discord, it doesn't have to be whatnot, but find your little neck of the woods here. And, it can be in the Soccer Cards HQ Twitter stream, wherever you find it, I think that's important. And I think soccer in this country, combined with a lot of what the hobby has gotten right in the past year, and if we can have less of what was wrong about it in the past year, I think 2024 will be great.
I'm optimistic on the soccer card hobby. Like I said, I think we've grown. We're in a great place. Just do not let the leeches suck us dry. Basically, that was like the point. That is the point of the article. That is the point of this live. It's like, let's just keep the money. Let's keep the money. Let's
keep our own money, man. Share the wealth.
There you go. That should keep our own money. There it is.
Our own money. So thank you to Soccer Cards HQ for joining us. Make sure you go to his website to check out the article. It is soccercardshq.com. Where can they find you on Instagram? Are all the handles Soccer Cards HQ basically? Yeah. Yeah. He's well branded.
And I'll drop the comment. I know last time you had a problem with the show notes. I'm going to make sure to put the article in the comments this time.
Oh, hopefully I can do that this time. Yeah, I'll work on that. All right, man.
All right.
Great talk. Thank you.
Great talking.
Thanks. All right, make sure you join us next time. We are going to have, not actually a show note here before the next YouTube show. We're going to have the return of our Chaseopoly game, which if you've never watched, make sure you tune in Sunday, November 12th at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Whatnot app. We're going to be playing the Chaseopoly Christmas Vacation version. Every spot will start at $1. There will be a free hit draft at the end. We're calling it the Save the Neck for Me BTL show. If you're not in the BTL Discord, please give us a follow. bit.ly/BTL Discord is the link. And I thank you for watching. We had almost 90-minute show today. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time, everybody.